introduce our speaker?
I'm an addict named Frank. I'm very honored to introduce tonight's speaker. He has sponsored me now going on 8 years. He's been a big part of my life. He's reached out to me. My father passed away. One of the first people I see come through the funeral home was him. He drove almost 2 hours to get there. But over this 8 years, I've actually, got a friend, a sponsor first, a friend, and he has become a brother to me. And I love to hear him share because when he shares, his life is an open book. And I tell you, one time I always told him, I said, man, I want what you got. And he said, you better watch what you ask for. But I look up to him. He's definitely a role model for me. When I share a step with him, that's the honest that I get in my heart. And and I know that for a fact, he knows more about me than any other person in recovery because I get totally honest when I'm doing step work. Without further ado, I would like to give you Kenny P.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kenny, and I'm an addict. I'll try not to speed it up too much for you there. First off, I want to say I'm grateful to be here and be clean. I'd like to thank the committee for asking me. I'm sorry y'all had to wait. I was supposed to be here in the fall, but, they got this saying around here, keep coming back, so I finally made it. I was very ill then, and so it was, I wanted to be here, and sorry you had to listen to Rocco, but, but there you go. I say that because me and Rocco, we've done a lot of service work together. He always, or maybe I always ended up showing up like where he was at, like when he was in a relapse. And I would walk by and there he would be nodded out somewhere. And the thing I always told him, I said, man, you ain't got to live like that, And I love him. And anyway, I'll try to. They told me that the first thing they told me, they said that the CD was. Frank told me and by the way, he has the same last initial, but it's really a different name. So we're only related in recovery, I guess. That's what I'll say. But anyway, he told me, he said that the CDs were 140 minutes long. And I was told just probably 30 minutes ago that they had a pool going on as to how long I would speak tonight. I'm not long-winded. I don't know what they're talking about, okay? Anyway, like I say, it is good to be here. I wanted to say something about those shirts. Hey, I like those shirts. Yeah. Our area is going to have to get some of those, so we'll talk at you. I guess that's the clean date on the back. Is that what that is? Yeah, all right. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. You wear them much better than I would, but anyway. Believe me. probably wouldn't look as good in. I was talking with Jim over here a little while ago, and we known each other for a long time. I was privileged and honored back, I guess, about 1990, to go up to Warren, Ohio for it was a multi-regional learning day thing, and was able to participate in that. So we've known each other since then, and Jim was a couple years back. Jim was telling me out front that he had brought a guy that he started sponsoring down to the convention, and on the way down, they were listening to a tape of mine, and I guess I spoke maybe the year before or something here, and he was telling me that this guy, like partway through the tape, said, "Hey, I know that guy. And then he, about the time we saw him out front, he waved for him to come, and when he came over, it was like I recognized him too, and we did some time together down in Lexington, Kentucky, in federal prison. So, it was kind of neat, and he's supposed to be here tonight, right, or tomorrow, sometime over the weekend. So, miracles happen, and so without wasting any more of your time or any more of that precious 140-minute CD. 70? Well, they said it come in a box set or something like that. I don't know. So, who knows? Keeping up? Okay. Most of the time I talk with my hands, so I don't know why you're even here. I think that's great, though. That's great. Just kind of makes me nervous, somebody swinging behind me. Prison will do that to you. Anyway, and gratefully, it's been a long time since I haven't had to go back there since I came here. I have since I've been clean. I've had a citation. I never got a citation when I was using. Okay, but I have one citation since I've been clean, and it was for a minor thing. I was threatening some children with a baseball bat, but. Yeah. But I was surrounded by them. They were riding these bicycles all around me, and I was like, knock your fucking ass. But I was not guilty. I was not found guilty of that, by the way. So I keep trying to get better. That was about 10 years ago, I think. So haven't had anything since. Things seem like they're kind of down to me. Do they to you? Oh. You were hearing that okay, right? Now you can see. I knew I needed some adjustment there, Anyway, my clean date is February 25th, 1989. We'll start there. Thank you. I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous while I was in prison through H&I. And up until the last 2 years, I had a change in my job, and sometimes I work some different shifts, and it's like forever changing all the time, and so unfortunately I'm not able to do service like I once did, but up until that point I'd always and the other thing, I'd always done H&I. Let me finish that, but and then one of the favorite meetings that we had, me and Rocco used to do, and Frank. and they changed. It was a federal halfway house, and I had done the meeting for about 12 years, and then they changed, like, they contract that stuff out to, like, these people. I don't know who they are, but anyway. So these new people took over. They got a brand new building because we had done it in a fucking dump for, 12 years, 2 different dumps. And they got this brand new building, and they said, well, they wanted us to fill out, like, this background check. And I told the guy, I said, man, it ain't gonna work. And but he gave me 3 blanks, and I brought one to myself. And well, I won't speak about Rocco or Frank. I won't mention them, but I gave them to the other 2 guys that were going to be doing the meeting with me. And I took them back and turned them in, and I called him the next day, and he said we were denied. We weren't what the BOP was looking for to carry the message to their clientele. So, Sherry's? Yeah. So, and it was a wonderful meeting because we used to do it, and I'm sure some of you have done that type of meeting, and you look around in the room that you're in, and the denial's just thick. And then you come out of there after sharing your experience, strength, and hope, and it's kind of like a high. You'd be just so pumped up, and we used to come out of there. We used to do that like every 2 weeks, and we come out of there every time like that, and share about it on the ride home, and I really miss it a lot, and but hopefully one day. We may be able to do something like that again. Yeah, I was just wondering, do both of these microphones feed into that thing? Oh, no. Just wondering. I was just... Oh, okay. So if I don't want you to hear something. Anyway, like I say, I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous through H&I, and I have a special love for that. My friend I was in prison with, he came there a little later after me, and we had kind of grown up together and used together, and he had, he thought he did. He had gotten clean before he got locked up, and he was, we were in Lexington, Kentucky, in the federal place there, and at that time it was co-ed, which was kind of nice. If you're doing time, So, he come there, and they had an H&I meeting coming in, and each week, and he kept trying to get me to go, and I wasn't really interested. And one cold, rainy night, I looked in the window where they were having the meeting, and after the meeting, they allowed them to hug, and the only thing you could do, actually, there at the prison, you could hold hands with someone of the opposite sex, And so I seen them hugging, and I thought, damn, next week I'm going to the meeting, I'm taking my girl to the meeting. And so I did, and I didn't understand what was going on. I was just waiting for it to end, so I could hug, So that was my first meeting, and then after that, I went a couple more times, and then we were, they was changing it over. They was making it an all-female facility and getting all the men out. And so I was sent, we were sent then from Lexington to Morgantown, West Virginia. And the guy actually that sponsors me today was doing the H&I meeting there. And my friend Jeff kind of introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous. He was telling me about, and this guy, I'd grown up with, and, partied with, went to school, junior high and high school with, and he told me, he said, Scott does the meeting there. And, and so I mean, I believe me, I'm not thinking about getting clean yet at all, And I wasn't looking forward to going to like this meeting in Morgantown because it was all men. And I'd only like went to hug anyway, So he kept telling me, he said, yeah, we'll go to the meeting. So Scott comes in, does the meeting. And I said, man, I could probably get him to bring me in something, And Jeff said, nah, he said, I don't think he'll do that. He's got like 5 years clean. And I said, he'd do it for me. And so luckily, from going through the federal system, if you travel from Lexington, Kentucky to Morgantown, West Virginia, it takes 10 fucking days. Okay? By way of Talladega, Alabama. Okay? I don't know. But anyway, so the entire 10 days, we keep talking about this, and I keep talking about, having him bring me something in. And so finally we get up there, and it comes the night, for the meeting. I think it was like on a Tuesday night or something. And so we're walking down to the meeting, and Jeff grabs me by the arm and stops me, and he says, man, you ain't going to ask him to bring you something in, are you? And I said, no, man, I'm not going to. I don't know what happened, but I wasn't going to anymore. And so went there, and this guy, he didn't look nothing like I remembered him. I hadn't probably seen him in 10 years or so, and the last time I seen him, he was like about this big around, and long hair and scraggly, and wore the same clothes all the time. You know how we are, And he was like, had a haircut, and he put on some weight, and dressed, respectfully, I guess, And it was just kind of strange to see him that way, And he welcomed me there, and I went in and I told him, I told him about knowing Jesus Christ. And a couple other guys. Now, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to really be bad. I'm not. I mean, but there's a line in our literature that says "lack of religion," and that's how I got in here. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what was going on. A couple of weeks later, I got pissed while I was there and I come up dirty, and so then they sent me to Danbury, Connecticut, and extended my time. Anyway, I won't go into that, but I mean, it was just smoking some weed. I mean, what the fuck, But anyway. So I go there, and they got meetings there as well, and I'm attending the meetings, and I'm trying to get out. Is what I'm trying to do. That's what I want to do, is get the fuck out, and my date's done been pushed back, and it's all of that, and so I would go to the meetings, and the funny thing is, after the meeting, me and this guy, he was from Charlotte, in North Carolina. In case you didn't know what Charlotte was. But after the meeting, we would walk in the center court, have a cigarette, and we'd be talking about, how great this, NA thing is. And we would say, yeah, man, when I get out, man, just on the weekend, just drink a few beers, smoke a little weed, and everything be all right, And that was my concept of complete and total abstinence at that time. Because I really hadn't went to prison for, drinking beer and smoking weed, or something, but it was those other things that I did. But, I had wrecked a few cars, and caught a little, possession charge here and there, that kind of thing. So, it wasn't just, nothing wrong with it in the eyes of the law. Anyway, but one thing that was happening was my friend Jeff, who had gotten out like prior to, after I had like been shipped out of Morgantown, he had gotten out, and I didn't really, I didn't have nobody to call. Back I understand it's a little different today, but back then you still had to call collect, and he had wrote me a letter and said. He was going to meetings and stuff like that, and he said, call me. And every week on Sunday, I would call, collect, and he would accept the call every time. And he would tell me about meetings on the outside. And so I still remember that today and, remember what was done for me. And it had a big impact, because I was by the time I got out, I was excited, and he was supposed to pick me up and take me to like my first meeting. And just like Jeff, he didn't show, and I had to catch the bus, And then he didn't even show up at the fucking meeting, I was in this room with these people. I had no idea who they were. And they were talking about some stuff that I really didn't understand, except for this one guy. This one guy had his feet he was sitting in a chair and had his feet up in the windowsill, and this was like, November, and he had his scarf around his neck, and he was sitting there and he was talking about bong hits, and giving that up. And I thought, man, I'm in the wrong fucking place here, And I thought, damn, that's all I got to give up, But, and then after the meeting, this is the kicker here. After the meeting, he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "Where are you at?" And I said, "Well, I'm in a work release." And he said, "You'll never fucking make it." I want to tear his head off. And so today he has 31 years, and I'm a little bit behind him, but I keep coming back, because he said I wasn't going to make it, So I'm going to try to outlast him. And then my buddy Joe, where'd Big Joe at? Where he at? He ain't even come. Anyway. What the fuck, Yeah, nice guy, man. Thank you for the support, Joe. But, he tells me, he reads me this thing that Cliff had sent him, this text, and it was like all spiritual and shit, and I'm like, and he was like, yeah, you even shared some good shit in the meeting the other night. And I'm like, Cliff? Fuck, shit's dry. How we doing?
Fine, all right.
No, I meant the time. I meant on the time, Just kidding. No, we're good. Have I got clean yet? Hell, I don't even know if I got clean yet, have I? No, I didn't. Well, yeah. No, I think I just showed up at meetings, yeah. I still haven't got clean, believe me. I ain't got clean yet, because it takes a couple more months of doing 3 meetings a week, because I was in this work release thing, and they would only let me go out 3 nights a week to meetings. And then they let you go home on a furlough like every other weekend, And every other weekend, after you're locked up a while, I got to find a woman. So I only know at that time one place to find a woman. So I would go to a bar, of course, and I was only going to drink like a soda or some orange juice or something, And a few hours later, I would be out and back in the alley, puking all over my shoes with no woman, So I just couldn't get it, I just didn't understand, and so eventually some other things happened here, and I finally, did get clean, and about a week into it, maybe not even that long, just a couple of days after I'd, finally gotten clean, these 2 guys had kind of like, they were starting to like, I guess you call it like 12-stepping me and whatever, and but they took an interest in me is what they did. And they would like, I was too proud to really ask somebody for a ride, to the meeting, unless it was a girl. So I'd ride the bus or something. But these two guys would always take me back to this work release I was in. And I'd go up to the door and I'd tell them, I say, these guys from NA, drop me off, but they want to talk to me a little bit. And they'd sit like for an hour, like out front of this work release and like talk to me every night. Well, the one guy, he says to me, he says, Kenny, what do you think about maybe asking them, if you can go to more than 3 meetings a week? I said, no, man, they won't let me. He said, how do you know? I said, I just know. He said, well, why don't you ask them? I said, okay. I said, I'll ask the director in the morning. So the next morning, instead of getting up and going to work, I hung out and waited on the director to come, He finally came in, and I asked him if I could speak with him, and had to wait on him, to get his coffee and all of that, And so he finally went in his office and waved me to come in, and so I went in, and I told him, I said, man, I'm going to these NA meetings. I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'd like to ask you. And he's like not really paying attention to me. He's like writing some stuff on his desk, and I'm like, I'd really like to know if I could go to, more than 3 meetings a week. And without even looking up, he says, I'll give him a carte blanche at the front desk, and he said, you can just go as much as you want. And at that fucking point, I knew that him and that guy that was in the car at night telling me they was best friends. I knew they were. I knew they was best friends. He knew that before I asked, And so that's what I did. I started going like every night, and now it did take me about 10 months to do 90 and 90, because I would miss one for some kind of family thing going on, or my grandmother died, and then my mother needed a ride one time, and didn't like driving at dark. That was after I got my driver's license back, A lot of us show up here with no driver's license, don't we? Wonder why. So, anyway, I would miss one and I'd start over, And one thing I think that's real important to say right now is when I got clean in Metro Valley area, which is around in Charleston, which is the area in which I'm from, and lived there all my life. We only had 1 meeting a day in Narcotics Anonymous, and I ain't never been nowhere else. I'm a product of you. So, I would miss one, and then I'd start over, And then on the 365 day, 66th day, the day after I picked up the magic one, it was before they had the gray one, So, or the black one. And so I didn't know what was on TV that night. So I just went to the meeting, and kept doing that for better part of 5 years or more. And I'm real glad I did. So this thing, this thing we got here, I tell people that are new, there's Joe. I was talking about you, man. I talked him up in here, didn't I? But I tell people that are new, man, and I don't know, I try to convey it as best as I can, being used as well as I can be as a instrument of God. But a lot of times I just can't find the words for it, to convey to somebody what we got here, The only thing that I ever kind of can think of is like, it's like the Holy Grail, and because I'm I'm a two-time loser with 7 felony convictions, and I should not be in the place that I am today, you know, with the type of life that I have. And I wouldn't be if it wasn't for Narcotics Anonymous. And my life's better than I could have ever imagined it to be. I have a job it's kind of crazy because I work with these guys. I mean, these guys are like engineers. And it's like I work right beside them, get paid the same thing they get, you know, and it's like, and when I first started there, I really felt less than, you know, because I don't have, you know, an electrical engineering degree, and but today, you know, I mean, you know, through coming to meetings and sharing about that, you know, feeling less than and trying to work through that. For the most part, I feel equal to, except for the guy that like sits across from me, because he always tells me that he's taught me everything that I know, but not everything that he knows. You know, so when I'm up against something, you know, he's my go-to guy. So, but this thing is you know, it's wonderful. It's miraculous. And, you know, where it talks about in our literature, if we made a list, you know, we definitely would have shortchanged ourselves, and I would have, you know, because I only had probably about 5, 6 things on the list when I got here. You know, I wanted a car, I wanted a woman, I wanted a house, you know. And maybe I just had 3 on there, I don't know. Yeah, and you know, today the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, the things, and the most important thing is you know what I have on the inside, the way Kenny feels about Kenny today, and I'm okay with me for the most part on a daily basis. The guy that was going to introduce me tonight is a little ill. Well, a whole lot ill. If you're just a little ill, he might be here, but he's a whole lot ill. You know, old age is not real kind to us when we've had lots of years of abusing ourselves. And so I'd asked this guy to introduce me tonight, and he wasn't able to make it. And this guy sponsored me for my first 5 years clean. And then he was gone in a 14-year relapse. And about 3 years ago, he came back. And the night that he came back, I wasn't at a meeting, but Mike P., is Mike here? Where you at, Mike? Mike's over here. Mike calls me, you know, about 9 o'clock that night, and he says, man, he says, I give this guy a ride home from the meeting tonight, and he was asking for your number. And he said, I didn't want to give it to him, but I told him if he gave me his, I'd call you and have you call him. And he said he used to sponsor you. And I was like, who was it? And he said his name was Monty. And I said, give me the number. And as soon as I got off the phone with Mike, I called him up, you know, and we chatted for about an hour. And he was in bad shape, believe me. He was in bad shape. And so I did, he was one of those 2 guys that used to sit out there, you know, outside that work release. And so I definitely picked up my meeting attendance when he came back, you know, and I went and got him every night, and we went to a meeting, you know. And he helped save my life. You taught me, I owe it back, you know. And another thing, you know, I don't sponsor him today, but we talked about it. And but the saying that we had, be kind to the newcomer, because one day they might be your sponsor. Okay? It's real. It's real. And, you know, so, like I say, this thing is special that we have here. And I just can't emphasize it enough. You know, if you're new, Keep coming. Your life will definitely get better. And anybody that I know that's been here for any amount of time, their life definitely gets better. But one thing that happens to us a lot of times, what I see, with people is, it's usually somewhere like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years clean, somewhere in that neighborhood. We start feeling pretty good, and then we go to the dentist, and then we enroll in college, and then we get our driver's license back, and find a mate. I guess that's a correct way to say that. And,
Thank you.
Oh, you're certainly welcome. Was that easier to say, mate? Okay. Oh, okay, great. Great. I'll say I'm looking for a mate. Later on, okay? No, just kidding. Happily married. Where the hell was I? Yeah, so people, we do these things, our lives start to get better, and all of a sudden, it's like meetings aren't as important, and, life is kind of taking off for us, and, anybody that sticks around for, 10, 15, 20 years, we see them. Yeah, hopefully, we see them come back. And I think in the basic text it's just something about being badly shaken, than before. And so if you're here, just stay. There ain't no sense going back out there. Stick around, and you'll see people come, and they'll tell you how fucked up it is out there, and you won't have to go, So, we can make it through anything here and stay clean. The key is I believe, is that we reach out to one another, and and I know that I've had it with people here. We have differences, with things, especially like when you get involved in service, and you have different opinions about things, and one person thinks their way of carrying, the message is better than yours or whatever. And which don't get me wrong, I love that shit. I like to argue, believe me. But anyway, the thing is we put our differences aside, and love one another, and help one another through whatever it might be, whether it's any kind of medical problem or relationship type problems that we have with our mate, or whatever. And death of a loved one, and I was talking earlier there about my friend Jeff that introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous. Jeff relapsed, and during his relapse he died. And he was my best friend. He introduced me to this program. He's the best man in my wedding. Like I say, accepted collect calls when I had no one else to call. And that's what this disease does. It fucking kills us, And what Narcotics Anonymous does, it gives us recovery from that and a new way to live. And I know that's kind of like, cliche, new way to live, but it truly is. And, better than any life we've ever known. So, keep coming back. If you're new, keep coming. even if you're an old timer, keep coming. We had this Friday night group just Frank's home group and Joe. I'm speaking about these guys because these are guys in my circle, my network, guys that I love, like my brothers. And but their home group was on Friday night, and last Friday night they had a what y'all call it, like a pre-convention tailgate thing going on, and so they asked me to speak to like warm things up, get kind of used to speaking in front of a crowd, and the only thing that I probably spoke about a couple of different things, but I tried my best, to stay focused on the 12th step, and I think that's what I tried to convey through that. Probably it was like about a 20-minute lead. Is that what it was? 20 minutes last week? I'm kidding. Joe was threatening to cut me off, but we start and end on time, I know you're watching me, but I try to convey that, the 12th step, and that's what that's the way I try to live today, in all my affairs, whether it's work, whether it's at home, whether it's here, and I hope that the way I stand here before you tonight, and if I see you tomorrow or I saw you last week, I hope that I convey that I'm the same fucking guy all the time. That's what I want to be, It's the same guy all the time, just consistent with that. I like to have fun, and I don't think, if I wasn't having fun here, believe me, I don't think I'd stay. I like having fun. I like living today. I like living by the principles that we learn here through the steps, which reminds me when I say that steps. I was talking to this young lady earlier today outside. I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about, trying to get some insight, and she said she wanted to hear about some steps and stuff, and I'll try to get to that. I promise. And my fault, they had the traditions in front of me, so I couldn't see the steps to remind myself. But now we got them there. But sometimes it's kind of hard for me to kind of talk about that because I believe in working the steps, but I believe a whole lot more in living them. But we got to work them in order to start living them and incorporating them into our lives. I like newer guys that new to the program that I sponsor. They have a little bit more oomph to work the steps, than some guys that been around a while, And I'm not talking about you, Frank. I mean, I didn't mean to look over that way. I didn't mean to. It's my fault. Yeah. So, but but anyway, but I like the early steps and getting talking with other people because you kind of like when you're sharing and doing that you kind of see like this light bulb go off or something and they kind of they start to get it and I get enthusiastic with that. And one thing I did want to say, I was thinking about it a minute ago, and I want to say it now before I forget. My daughter, she'll be 21 years old next month. took her to her first meeting when she was 3 days old. And she grew up here. You helped raise her. And pretty good kid, you know. Love of my life. And I say that, you know, I ain't never want to have no kids prior to coming here. Didn't have time for them, for one, and wasn't what I wanted. And I come here, and that's, you know, one of the most wonderful things that have ever happened to me. And I say that by saying this. The wonderful thing is spending almost 21 years, you know, raising my child. And I thank you, you know, for that. But she was telling me this morning, she's like, God, I wish I could, you know, go up there with you, you know, tonight. And she has this like little thing that she does with a friend of hers it's like an auction that they have. They sell like QVC shit or something like that. But her and her friend like operate like the concession thing, selling hot dogs, you know, and stuff like that. And she was like, I'd like to go up there with you tonight, but, you know, my friend, you know, it'd be too much work on her. I don't want to put all that off on her, even though she said it was okay. And she's like, I would just feel bad about doing it. You know, I'm kind of committed to go. And I thought, wow, that's pretty wild, you know. A 20-year-old that, you know, is committed to something like work, you know, today, yeah. You did a damn good job. You, not me. And like I say, it's just been a blessing. I mean, you know, to participate in that, you know. And it's not just. I mean, it's not like my child has been perfect. I mean, you know, her senior year of high school, she quit school. You know. You know, she moved in then with this guy that, you know, most fathers would not want their daughter to move in with, you know. And you know, I all I could do was, you know, just kind of be there for her, through the good, through the bad. And I didn't just keep telling myself, I mean, it's her life. You know, I can't live it for her. All I can do is, you know, be there and try to share with her, you know. And one thing that is good is, like, you know, she's come to enough meetings and seen enough of people fucking their lives up and going out and coming back and going out and coming back and dying and all of that, that she definitely don't want no part of that, you know. Which, you know, for most of us, I mean, you know, we were seeing that on a daily basis, and it looked rather fucking attractive, you know. Didn't stop us, you know. But I guess if you see it at an early age, you know, and for what it really is, you know, and see people living differently, you know, than just always living that way, it can be different. So I was telling, I think, I'm trying to remember her name. Anyway, but we were talking, and she was talking about like being on the second step, and supposed to, I think, share it up here this weekend, and we were talking about like the first step, and I always think of the first step as being like the most, well, naturally it would be, I mean, the most difficult step for us to work. But I think the difficult thing is about it is, like, you know, your sponsor tells you, it says, well, read the book and write about powerlessness and unmanageability. I don't know about you, but those were words that were foreign to me at that point in time, you know. So I would write about Jesus and a couple other guys, you know, and say, I'm done. Let's talk about it, you know. And I was telling her, I said, you know, my first year clean, by the time I had a year clean, I'd already worked the first 10 steps. And most of them were kind of like that, you know, Jesus. But, you know, and then, you know, what happened was I encountered the 11th step at a year clean and started working on that. And it took about 2.5 years for me to work on that. And I don't mean by just like picking it up like, you know, one day and 4 months later looking at it again. I mean, I was going to places and like sitting cross-legged and humming and all kinds of shit, you know, and me and my sponsor, you know, I drag him with me. I say, I seen this thing in the paper about this meditation group, you know. It's on Wednesdays at 7. Let's go there, you know. And we would go and check this shit out, you know. But I think what was happening, why it took so long, I was telling her today, it was like that 2.5 years in the 11th step, it let the first 10 catch up. And I started to really understand what was going on there. And even though, you know, it's like the 10th step, you know, I was told, I was privileged and honored to, early in my recovery and at that time, I met Greg Pierce, who you know, wrote Living the Program pamphlet. And somebody told me that during the meeting, and he was there, you know, and I said, well, I'm going to talk to him after the meeting, get the insight on this, you know, how to do this. And so after the meeting, he was talking to somebody, you know, and I'm standing patiently, you know, waiting to speak to him, you know, because he said, you know, he did the symbol and he did all this other stuff, you know, this literature, and been clean 20 years. And I was like, God, they're like a fucking God, you know. And, oh, man, I was like, you know, just excited. So I asked him, you know, when it was my turn, you know, I had to wait my turn. And I said, I had the pamphlet there. I said, man, I've been, you know, answering these questions, you know, and I even, you know, went to a copy machine and made it, you know, like front and back, you know, and made these things and stapled them all together, 30 of them, so I could do them in 30 days, you know. And he said something, and so I had another question, you know, and he would say something else, and I'd have another question. And then finally, he just said, just answer the goddamn questions. And I thought, damn, that was spiritual. Hey, but that was the suggestion he gave me. So I just answered the questions to the best of my ability. And so even after doing all that, you know, this time that was spent in the 11th step, they're trying to figure out how to meditate, I guess, you know. I mean, I was praying, and I think I did a better job with that, you know, than the meditation thing. And but it kind of, like I say, let that stuff kind of catch up, and I started to, I guess at that point, started to live, you know, the principles within the first 10, you know, then. And so, you know, and that was about the time that, you know, soon after that, a year or so later, we started on the 12th step, and Monty had relapsed, you know, and kind of left me alone, and there wasn't really anybody else worthy at that point that I thought of sponsoring me. So I sponsored myself for about the next 2 years. And thank God I just kept going to meetings, you know. So, and that's where I learned to like just kind of like really during that time it was kind of beneficial because I just learned to like just dump it all in the fucking meeting, you know. And nobody else to talk to, you know. So, you know, and I still do that today. For instance, okay, for you men that are over 50, or maybe even 40, I forget what the hell, after you're over 50, you know, you just, I don't know whether they said 40, so, but maybe it's just 50, maybe you're lucky. But they tell me that 1 in 2 men are going to get this, okay? And I had to go see my doctor last week. And I'm so grateful he's a little man. Okay? Need I say more? Okay? So, and I'm comfortable with sharing shit like that. I don't, you know, it don't make no fucking difference to me. It's life, you know, and, you know, what the hell. So, but I am real grateful that he's small. And he'd come in to see me. He'd come in and he had like this student doctor with him, you know, and they'd come in and I was getting like a full going over, you know, and all of that. So he come in and I'm because I mean I'm from here, okay, of course. So I'm a Mountaineer fan, of course. So that's right. And so I had on, you know, my West Virginia shorts, and I had like, you know, a yellow T-shirt on and all that when I went to the doctor. And he's an alumnus, of course. And so that means he went to fucking school there, okay? For anybody who don't know, but anyway, he did all this stuff, you know, with me, with this guy in there and all of that, and he left. He said, okay, and he said his nurse would come in, you know. These fucking things are moving on me. Anyway, I feel like my back's starting to hurt. That's what it is. But he says, you know, Teresa's nurse will come in shortly, you know, blah, 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 and take me down to the lab to get some blood work, and yada, yada, and all that. So I was like, okay. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, damn, I didn't have to get that. Yeah. And about 2 minutes later, he comes walking back through the door. He said, you thought that blue and gold was going to get you out of the best part, didn't you? And I said, yeah, John, I was really hoping. He said, bend over. And drop him. So, you know, I mean, so there was some benefit of self-sponsorship back then, you know. I got to be able to learn how to just, you know, I'm going to fucking die if I don't tell you this shit, you know. And so I just dump it all out there. And nothing's really, you know, that bad. Yeah, I've gone through, I've been married to my wife for 20 years. I had 6 months clean and she just got out of treatment when we first got together. So if anybody tells you it don't work, well, okay. Now, she stopped coming to meetings after about 5 years. I had my doubts then whether she was really an addict or not. I'm second guessing that today. She has some tendencies there, believe me. But anyway, but you know, during that time, I mean, there were some things that happened, you know, and I you know, I don't know, I don't remember exactly when it was, but what happened was I went to the meeting and you know, I broke down in the meeting and was crying and sharing about it. And two guys, one of the guys I sponsored, and one was, you know, just another good friend. I mean, they took me, you know, to their house after the meeting, and I think they had like a foosball table or something downstairs or something. We played some of that, watched some movies till way in the wee hours of the morning, and you know, they were there for me, you know. So you know, that type of thing. I've had surgery since I've been here, you know, and sent home with medication. And yeah, I was in a non-weight-bearing cast right after the surgery, and the only time my wife would come see me, no matter how much I cussed her, was every 4 hours. You know. But I had people that called me, you know, and came to see me and, you know, helped me through that as well. You know, I was talking with this guy that I sponsor now, and he was had some surgery here lately, and that's what he was telling me. It's like, you know, they'd sent him home with this, you know, some medication, and he said that they kept talking to him, you know, and said, "Come count me," you know, all them pills in the bottle, you know. It was like, just count me. You don't have to take me, just count me. And I could relate a little bit. But you know, like I say, I believe no matter what we go through, as long as we share with one another, you know, what's happening, you know, we can make it through it clean. And that's what it's, you know, that's what the basis of this thing's all about. Everything else, I mean, that comes after that, which is only made possible as a result of that, is, well, I guess it's kind of magical, you know. And so I would like to talk about all these steps, but I probably don't have time, do I, Alan? Yeah, I mean, hell, but I only talked about 2 or 3, you know, so we won't talk too much more about them. Beautiful weather we're having, though, ain't it? Just kidding. But it is. It's nice, and lots of beautiful people here, especially with those shirts. But I hope everybody has a wonderful time. I hope I didn't bore you too bad. Like I say, once again, I would just want to thank the committee. It is an honor to come here and speak before a group like this. In closing, I just want to say, you know, I'm truly grateful for the life that you've given me today. One thing I just kind of remembered, it was like my first convention here. I came here and I had, I don't know, maybe 90 days or something, you know, and the only thing I remember like the speakers, but I remember like the dance in this room on Saturday night, and you know, it's just real odd. And the theme, and I still remember the theme of that convention was Once Upon a Time in Reality. And as the dance was going on, it was like they brought in like all these pizzas, you know, for everybody to eat. And I just thought that was so damn cool, man. I was like, you know, because I'm used to going to a dance to where, you know, got trash cans full of beer, you know, and just all kind of nonsense going on, you know. And here it didn't have none of that, you know. And it's like, hell, they feed you too, you know. And but I was just thinking about that in this room, and you know, I'm grateful today that memories that I have since I've been here, and you know, with people, with things that's happened, you know, I can remember them, you know. I don't have to have somebody else tell me what happened. And most of my life, somebody always would tell me something, and I'd be like, it was the first time I heard the story, you know. So I'm grateful that my life isn't like that today. I hope you all have a wonderful time here in West by God. And I love you. Have a great evening.
All right, just want to remind everybody that speaker CDs will be over in merchandise, which is going to be open right after we close. We're going to close outside with a prayer. And Rocco A is the winner of the poll of how long Kenny would speak.